Hello! Welcome once again to Stuff and Things, where I like to discuss stuff and occasionally even things. I'm your good friend Bradley, and today I have a very cool firearm to show you guys. Some of you may recognize this. This is a Colt 1903 Pocket Hammerless. I guess the official designation was the Colt model 1903 Pocket Hammerless. This is a pistol that my dad just picked up. He walked into a pawn shop and there it was. He got it for very cheap. I think it was under $500, maybe, what was it, like $350 or something? Something ridiculous. Usually finding a gun like this in this condition, they're gonna be $7, $8, $9, $1,000. And in pristine condition, they can go for several $1,000s. This gun was produced in .32 caliber. Originally, I think they also had a .38 caliber model available at some point in its production cycle. But it's a semi-automatic pistol designed by John Browning. It was made by Colt from 1903 to 1945. Around 570,000 of these babies were produced, and they had 5 different variants. This is a variant 3 or a type 3. It has an integrated barrel bushing, which I will be showing you later. And it's a 3 3/4 inch barrel. And this particular variant was made from 1910 to 1926. And this one was made in 1913. We looked up the serial number on the Colt website. If you take a closer look at this, it has, the bluing is still in really good shape on this. There's a little bit of pitting here and there, some rub marks. On the side of the slide, it says, if I can get it in the light here, patented April 20th, 1897, December 22nd, 1903. Colt Patent Firearm Manufacturing Company, Hartford, Connecticut, USA. And there are some various other like proof marks on here. And then on the other side, I'm not sure if that will show up on camera or not, but it says automatic Colt caliber .32 rimless smokeless. And it has the very cool old Bakelite grips that Colt used to put. I think most of the variants of this gun came with these grips originally, and I think in the 20s they started doing some checkered walnut grips, but these were the original grips, and these are in amazing shape. This gun is 104 years old, and I can't believe the shape that it is in, especially for the price that my dad got this. They call it the Pocket Hammerless, but that's actually not true. There is a hammer integrated inside the slide, but this was supposed to be a pocketable pistol that you could carry with you, so it's very snag-free. You can see these tiny little sights, which is pretty typical for the time. This is more just kind of a point-shoot sort of weapon. But if you take a look at the 1911, I have a Series 70 1911 here, you can kind of see the direct lineage from this weapon to this. Now this is just a blowback design, and there's some differences internally and everything obviously, but just seeing the contour around the slide here. The original model had an integrated barrel bushing like this one, but later on they had a separate barrel bushing, but then they went back to an integrated barrel bushing in the Type 3 like this here. I think I mentioned 3 3/4 inch barrel. The first series had a 4-inch barrel. No magazine safety on these ones, but later on, I think in Type 4, they did a magazine safety, so if you had a round in the chamber and took the magazine out, it wouldn't fire, but this one still will. Speaking of which, I guess we should probably pick the magazine out, show you that it is not loaded. It has that kind of European style magazine release where you grasp and pull the magazine out. Nothing in the chamber at the moment, but you can see now the magazine is not there, but it will fire. It has that grip safety that was very typical of Colts at the time, still typical of Colts. The 1911 also has a grip safety. But just a very cool little pistol. Anything made by John Browning or designed by John Browning, I'm just kind of interested in. That's just the way it is. And especially just the direct lineage from this weapon to the 1911 is pretty cool. So I just wanted to take a closer look at this. I think I'm going to strip this down and clean it up. I'm not going to do a complete disassembly. I might take the grips off, but especially if you get into the grip safety and the sear and the mainspring, apparently it's very fiddly and kind of difficult to get it back together once you've taken it all apart. But we'll probably completely disassemble the slide. We'll probably, well, I'm not sure if I'm even going to take the firing pin out. We'll see. But I think this is pretty awesome. take a closer look at that bluing. You see a couple spots here and there, but that is in pretty damn good shape. They offered this mostly in this blued finish, and then I think they also offered a nickel version as well. You could get them engraved. They did a lot of custom work back then. The grips, as I mentioned, were originally this hard rubber, and then they eventually offered them in walnut, and I think you could also get pearl. This particular weapon was issued as an officer's pistol up until the 70s, I think. You know, the typical issued weapon was a 1911 or a sidearm, but then this was the officer's issued weapon. And in the 70s, it was replaced by sort of a compact 1911. But this served for quite some time in the capacity of an officer's sidearm. So let's see about stripping this baby down. I'm not insanely knowledgeable about the 1903, but you know, you can look things up on the internet. Wikipedia is your friend, and I think I know how to take this baby apart, how to strip it down. So first of all, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this or not, but right on the bottom of the slide, you can see that little arrow and that hash mark. You're supposed to push the slide back to that mark, and then you're able to rotate the barrel, and that's going to allow you to take the gun apart. So what you can do, of course, making sure that this gun is unloaded because you're putting your hand near the muzzle right now, you can push it back like this, and you just have to kind of search for it. It's not exactly on that hash mark. There it is. So you rotate it so this little lug is at the top, and then you're able to pull the slide out like so. And the barrel, if you rotate it around, you can see these locking grooves there, sort of reminiscent of a 1911. That's how it locks into the slide. Then you can pull the barrel right out. And in here we have the extractor and the firing pin. The firing pin is sort of shrouded in this. I may or may not take that apart. It seems like it's moving very freely, like it's not gunked up or anything in there. So I may just leave that alone for now. And the extractor as well seems to have good tension on it and everything. I don't know if these springs have been replaced. I would assume they would have to be, but this seems like it's going to be a nice firing example of a 1903. The barrel, I have not tried to look down. Pardon me while I tried to look down the bore here. Yeah, the rifling still seems pretty good. You're not going to be able to see it probably. If it'll focus in on that. If I put my hand behind it, there is no light. Still pretty deep rifling. Doesn't seem like this gun has been fired a hell of a lot. So we're going to try to clean this out. Inside the frame, you have the recoil spring and the guide rod. Again, I can't imagine that this is original. It seems to be in really good shape. The guide rod probably is, but quite a few of these guns were made, so you can find parts for them. You can see the integrated hammer in there. Again, we're not going to try to take that apart. I think I'm just going to do a little cleaning of the frame, maybe inside the magwell a little bit. I'll use a nylon brush or something. And maybe I'll take the grips off, just clean under there. Sometimes you can get rust under where the grips are. So let's see about that. You want to make sure your screwdriver fits quite well with the screw. These are probably original. You don't want to strip them out. You don't want to gouge the screw head. So I think I've got it there. There we go. It's really cool. If you look at this, this is like just a solid piece of bakelite that they kind of carve out. Very cool. Inside you can see this is part of the trigger assembly, and then the mainspring and everything, and the sear is housed back in here. And like I said, I think I'm going to leave that as it is. I don't want to screw with that right now. But underneath I see just a couple little spots. I think that actually might just be oil. Let me see. Yeah, it's hard to tell, but we'll give that a good cleaning. For the most part, I don't really see any rust on this whatsoever, which is quite cool. I'll pop this other grip off if I can. So you can see it's threaded on the end there. The screw Once again, my camera doesn't like to focus on little pieces. So we're just gonna take all this. We'll probably use ballistol. We'll give everything a nice good dousing of ballistol. Shine it all up, clean it all up. One thing I just thought of, I do not have any 32 caliber jags or anything for cleaning the barrel. I just have, you know, 9mm, 45, 22, all that good stuff. So we'll probably just have to use, I don't know, we'll just have to use patches in the barrel, I guess, but we'll give it a good coating of ballistol, let that sit for a minute. So let's do that first. We're just gonna get our ballistol and we're gonna douse this baby. Inside the barrel, outside the barrel. We'll put that aside and let it sit. We don't want to spray liberally inside the slide where the firing pin comes out and everything. But if you just kind of hold it down like this, kind of similar to 1911, if you're letting the debris fall out, don't spray directly into where the firing pin is, but on the outside you'll be fine. And we'll give a coating to the whole slide. We're going to be rubbing all this off eventually, so don't worry. And I'll probably give this a nice scrubbing with a nylon brush. You want to be careful with this blued finish. This is a very pretty old style Colt bluing, and it's not the most durable thing in the world. Usually when you see these guns, they have been, the finish is not really like it was when it was first made. I'm just going to give every part a little coating of ballistol. Even the rubber grips, why not? The magazine, I don't know if this is original. I thought all original Colt magazines, even back in the day, had a little Colt on the bottom side. So this might not be original. With this, I'm not gonna try to disassemble this, take the follower out. I'm just gonna get a little bit of ballistol on a rag. Inhaling ballistol. And just rub where the feed lips are. I'm not getting any residue out. It doesn't look like this gun has been fired in quite some time. Give it a little rub down, and I'll just leave a very, very, very light coating of ballistol on the magazine. So that's done. We'll put that aside. As far as the frame goes, I'm just gonna put a little bit here in the locking grooves. I'm not gonna spray directly into the magazine well. I'll probably just put a little ballistol on a nylon brush and rub it down there. We just want a little coating around here. Now first I'm going to take a clean patch and see if anything comes up by giving a little rub. Not really. There's a little bit of residue from oil, but I think for the most part this is pretty clean. I am going to get my nylon brush and get into these rails in the slide. And then I really want to get into these locking grooves. You can see there's a little bit of residue in there, but really not much. You don't want to get too exuberant with scrubbing on this. A nylon brush should be pretty safe, but even so, you don't want to go too crazy with it. And then I'm just going to get a dry patch and clean up some of the residue inside here. I will put the patch on my brush and really get into those grooves. So yeah, you can see some fouling there. We'll take another patch and just try to get it down inside the mag well. Using our nylon brush again to get as much residue as we can. And then for the outside of the frame, we'll just take this microfiber cloth and rub it down. I'm gonna wanna leave a nice little lubricating layer, not even a lubricating layer, but just sort of a protectant layer under where the grips are going to cover, because that's a place where moisture can definitely collect. And on an old blued gun like this, that is where corrosion could begin. So give this a nice rub down. So that's pretty much it for the frame. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm not gonna get into disassembling all this. That's just a road I don't wanna go down right now. These grips, I'm just gonna give a little scrub. They seem pretty clean already, but Ballistol isn't gonna hurt them. And again, we'll have kind of a little coating of Ballistol on the backside, especially where it's making contact with the surface of the metal. Never hurts. And then I'll just take some of these individual little pieces, this little screw, we'll just rub it down. There shouldn't really be anything on this. That's nice and clean. The barrel we're still gonna leave for now. We'll let that soak a little bit longer. But the slide, I think I'll take a patch, just rub it around the outside, see if anything comes up. I did notice these grooves have a little bit of gunk in them, the slide serrations. So I'm gonna try to just use, once again, my nylon brush. See if we can really get in there with the patch. And you can see a little bit of gunk's coming up there. And the rest of the outside we'll just rub down. I like Ballistol because it leaves a nice little coating over the metal. It's kind of like when you have a nice seasoned pan that you've been cooking in for a long time. Now again, we have the rails inside. I'm just gonna use my good old nylon brush with a patch and work it into those rails. This polymer brush is quite nice to get into these hard to reach places. Some people like using nylon picks too. Which would work quite well, I would say. I've also got some Q-tips. We might draft those into service as well. Let's see. I'm gonna try to get inside here. This is fun, isn't it? Cleaning guns. It's an activity that not everyone in the world gets to enjoy. Okay, I've also got some Q-tips, which can be quite useful getting into the little hard to reach places, into these slide rails. Still getting a little bit of gunk up, but for the most part, this is cleaning up quite nicely. And again, I'm not worried about getting every little bit of Ballistol out of here. In fact, it's nice to have a little bit of layer as a protectant coating. But that's pretty clean. We'll just give another rub down to the actual outside of the slide. And then at the end, I'll probably take either silicone cloth or just some more Ballistol on a patch or something and do a light coating on the reassembled firearm. Beautiful. All right, now the barrel. As I mentioned, I don't actually have the proper size jag or brush for the barrel, but we're gonna get into those locking grooves with our brush. That is where a lot of gunk likes to gather. as you can see here, give the outside a nice rub down. And now we're gonna try to force a couple patches through there. Like I said, we're just gonna have to use my rod with some patches on the end because I don't have the right jag. But maybe with, I don't know, let's try 3 patches. And I'm just gonna give these a little spray of ballistol. We're running out of ballistol. And from, of course, not the muzzle end. A little bit of gunk. Not bad. We'll turn these around here. I'm gonna add one more. I think I can get one more in there. A fresh, clean one. Yeah, that's coming out pretty clean now. Looking through the barrel here, that looks clean as a whistle to me. Now to finish up the barrel, obviously we'll be doing some lubrication and stuff too, but I want to take a couple patches and just leave a light coating of ballistol in there. I don't know that my dad is ever going to fire this. I'd like to. I think it would work just fine from what I can see. It seems like it's in perfect operating condition. But just in case he doesn't fire it for a while anyway, it doesn't hurt to leave a nice light coating of ballistol inside the barrel. So there you go. And then there's enough on my hands right now. I'm just going to kind of rub it on the outside to protect it. And the barrel's done. So now we can basically reassemble and then lubricate and we'll be finished. Alrighty, so I've already reinstalled the grips. I just did a little rub of ballistol on the metal underneath where the grips are going to be installed. When you're screwing these back in, you want to make sure that you don't over tighten. You can see there's this little brass kind of washer that has grooves in it. It's in the bakelite, and if you tighten the screw too much, you can actually rip that out and crack the bakelite, so be careful with that. Now, the lubrication on this, I just put a little bit, just a couple dabs here on the slide rails on either side, 1 or 2 dabs where the hammer pin is. You can see the actual pin there. That's what you would drive out if you were going to be removing the hammer. A little bit in the locking grooves there, and on the barrel did the same, a few little dots in the locking grooves, and then just kind of rub some around in some of the wear points. You can see where the finish has been wearing off a little bit on the hood. If I can get that there. There you go, buddy. You could use grease in the slide rails if you'd like. And then also in the slide itself, put a little bit of oil in the grooves. And it's pretty much ready. I guess I could do, if I wanted to be completist, a couple little drops of oil where that integrated barrel bushing is going to make contact here. All right, so let's put this baby back together. We have our frame, we have our recoil spring and guide rod. You place the recoil spring into the little hole in your receiver, like so. The barrel, you start with the grooves facing, I guess it would technically be down if the slide were oriented correctly, but as you're looking at it facing up, place it inside, and then rotate it so they are facing down, or actually to the top of the slide. Then make sure your guide rod goes in the hole. or your recoil spring. Push her back, and again, you're gonna try to, oh God, this thing is slippery right now. Try to get it to that sweet spot where you can then rotate the barrel. Oh. Once you get that sweet spot, you rotate it until you can see where that integrated barrel bushing is gonna go there. Oh, that's a little bit fiddly, but we've got it. Function check, put it on safe, doesn't fire. There we go. Work that lubrication in. Beautiful. This has a really nice crisp trigger. I mean, it's not super, super light, but this is a single action only. You compare it to a 1911, it's probably just as crisp. It has a nice clean break, but I don't know, I'd put it maybe at around 6 pounds, something like that. Not super light, but quite nice. I think it's just a really cool gun. I'm gonna wipe it down a little bit now. I've got so much oil on this. Afterwards, I'll probably just rub it with a silicone rag or something. But there you go. A very handsome, very cool firearm. Has a lot of historical significance, and I think it's pretty great. I'd like to grab myself one of these, but I don't think I'll ever be able to find a deal as good as the one that my dad found. Lucky bastard. So there you have it, the Colt 1903 Pocket Hammerless. This particular model, made in 1913, 104 years old as of the recording of this video. Not bad.